example of a functional range joint assessment. We're going to look at Hannah's hip extension today and see kind of the discrepancies between her left side and her right side. So I've already given Hannah a full functional range joint assessment. She's having some trouble with her right hip, and we found through the assessment that she lacks some hip extension and hip flexion. So what we're going to do is I'm going to test for her passive range of motion and her active range of motion on her left side and her right side. Okay, so I'm going to show you her right hip extension. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my hand on her ASIS joint in her bone in her pelvis. I'm going to then lift her leg up. I'm going to look at her back, her pelvis, make sure that she doesn't overcompensate as I lift it up, because I just want her to move from her hip joint. Good. So she gets to about here before she starts to want to rotate her pelvis forward and then compensate with her low back. So I'm going to test that one more time for passive range. Good. So she gets to about here passively. So I'm going to ask her to move that actively by herself. So go ahead. Good. Go down. Do that a couple more times. Good. So she's go down. You can see how she kind of arches to the back. She wants to compensate with her low back to help with that hip extension and kind of rotate her pelvis. Do that one more time. As you can. Good. Good. So now let's look at that compared to her left side. Same thing. ASIS bone in the pelvis. I'm going to lift up from her hip. Good. Go ahead and do that yourself. Good. Do that again. Good. One more time. Good. So she gets a little higher on her left compared to her right before her back wants to really start to kind of do that movement for her. So that will be a finding. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to work on some hip extension exercises with specific mobility work to help kind of correct that. So from the assessment, we found out that Hannah lacks some hip extension, so we're going to work on that. We already did 90-90 stretches. We did some hamstring stretches in there, and then we did some other stretches to help stretch out the muscles surrounding her hip. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put her through some controlled articular rotations. The fundamental joint motion of the hip is a rotary joint motion. Okay, so we need to practice to make that joint motion as smooth and round as possible. So what we're going to have Hannah do here is go ahead and put your hands by your side. Good. So what I want her to do is she's going to try to make a circle with her hip from this position. I'm going to give her a tennis ball. I'm going to have her kind of hold that. What that's going to do is just going to increase some muscular contraction through her hamstring and then into her hip a little bit. So don't go yet, I'll tell you too. But I'm going to have her squeeze that, and then she's going to try to bring this knee up, and she's going to go into a circle, down, and then back. All right, so go ahead and squeeze that tennis ball as hard as you can. Good. Now lift this knee up as high as you can. Good. Lift it up. Go around. Here. Down. And then lift it up. Up, 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 up. Good. Here. And then back. Good. All right, one more time. Good. Squeeze that. Lift it up. There. And then back. Good. Do that again. Lift it up. There. And then back. Good. So I'm going to take that out. Good. Let's try that again. So one up. Good. Squeeze through here. There. Back. Good. Come up. Back. So now what I want you to do is I want you to, when you lift up, I want you to try to rotate this way and go out. Alright? Squeeze this here. Good. Squeeze up. Rotate. Good. Down. Now reverse that. Up. Back. And then down. Good. One more time. Squeeze it up. Good. Rotate around. There. Back. This is up. and then down. Good. So this is just one exercise that we can do. Of many, we can progress this a number of ways. We can add a tennis ball. We can add a couple blocks in there using yoga blocks, foam rollers, or anything like that to kind of block her low back, her hips, her pelvis, so she doesn't rotate anything through there like that. This is one thing that we can do to help increase that hip extension. Over time, we will progress this and make it longer so those circles won't be so chopped down. They'll be big, smooth circles. So that's the goal.